Hello, everybody. It is time for the final showdown. It is the season finale of the BISC GT3 Championship for Season 1. So far, we've been to Talon Bend, Portimao, Sebring, Road America, Daytona, Mount Panorama, to Fuji, and now Mugello is the season finale. Just getting underway. Our 11-minute time qualifying session around this 5.2 kilometer session. Circuit. You join myself, Alex Goldschmidt, standing in for Euron O'Leary, and I'm joined in the booth by Austin Scheff, who will not only be on colour commentary, but also be providing the wonderful images that you see on your screens right now. Let's have a look at the points coming into this final round of the season, because it is Eric Arria leading on 192 points. He's got a big old spin coming out of the first couple of corners. This is going to cause a little bit of drama, especially when there's been a lot of gravel just thrown onto the circuit. And it's the number 23 of Carl Newhill in the McLaren 720 that has just got off track. So Eric Arria leads the way ahead of Guillaume Dombret. 29 points separate them coming into the last two races of the season. We've got a sprint and then a reverse grid feature. That is a full reverse grid feature. Ivan Vantaggio rounds out the top three on 143 points. Lee Harrison on 101. John Pianizola on 81 points. Matt Warner, Ben Snell, Peter Ferraro, David Wang, and Dante Oliva round out your top 10 in the standings. So let's bring Austin in. Austin, hello, how are you? It's going to be an interesting one here because we're going to be running at Mugello. And it's going to be at dusk, so we're going to be at that crossover point where you're going to have to measure your braking points at the right point, going from, from what you would normally see on bright sunshine, but then a little bit of darkness does add a little bit of variety.
Yeah, and it also kind of ensures the fact that you actually have to drive your car better than you would have to do on daylight. You have to nail these braking points exactly. You have to make sure the car drives how you want it, especially in dusk conditions as we are experiencing right now.
So you're going to see a lot of slipstreaming coming down the main start-finish straight. Of course, Mugello very known for MotoGP action. Also very good for GT3 racing, as we see the 112 of Dante Oliva running in the Porsche 992 GT3s, following Ben Mitchell in the number 18 McLaren. Of course, Vantaggio going into the Lamborghini, but of course now we've got to have a little bit of a discussion here, because Austin, qualifying will set the grid for the sprint race, but then it is a full reverse grid for the final race here on round 8. It's been an exciting season so far, and just to sort of throw another little curveball to those wanting to be in the top 5, there's a lot of money up for grabs. There's prizes up for order as well. The drivers are going to have to be on their A game here at Mugello.
Yeah, for sure. And especially the points leader, Eric Arria, he cannot be too nervous about this because he is that points leader, as he mentioned, by 29 points. But he does have a chance to come away with 1,300 Australian dollars here tonight.
That's a big chunk of change there, as we are now getting underway with the actual first sort of proper efforts in this qualifying session. Cristiano Krisa in one of the other Lamborghinis. We've got 3 on the grid. That also includes Scott Borman. Lee Harrison is the first one to put in a lap time of 1:46.869. Ben Snell, 1:46.662. Ben currently sitting 7th in the championship on 57 points. As there's going to be more drivers crossing the line. Eric Arria P2. Lee Harrison has just had a bit of a moment off track. As we see Ben Mitchell, his lap time has been disallowed due to going past track limits. But still, 12 drivers having already set a lap time. There's low-down penalty being given to Luke Broadbent, so that is not going to help him in this particular occasion. More to the point, there is Ben Snell running in the kind of reminds me of the Toyota Supra from the old Castrol Toms days in the Japanese GT Championship, which eventually became what we now know as Super GT. Kyle Newhill in the number 23 car, making his way up to the top part of the circuit. 112 of Dante Oliva in the Porsche, putting on the flashers, going down through Castanova Savelli, I believe. More to the point, it is going to be the case of how fast do you want to push? And Dante Oliva only a second behind Ben Snell, whose lap time of 1:46.662 has yet to be beaten so far. We're seeing speeds of around about 160 miles an hour in terms of top speed. That needs to improve. There's Luke Broadbent in the number 70 Porsche, currently P12, as Eric Ariat goes up to the top of the timesheets, followed by closest protagonist in championship standings. They are past the halfway point here in qualifying. Ariat puts in a 45.5, and Don Brett 1/1000th behind. That's how close it is. It can be in this qualifying session. Matt Warner jumps up into 5th, Cristiano Chiesa up into 7th. And, well, at the moment here, Austin, Ben Mitchell and Scott Borman yet to set a lap time in qualifying. Their laps so far have been disallowed due to exceeding track limits. Ben Mitchell has crossed the line again. That's a third lap. Has that been a third lap time deleted? Yes, it has. Scott Borman, the number 60 in the Lamborghini, has crossed the line. And again, it just seems like Ben Mitchell and Scott Borman don't seem to... Well, Scott Borman has set a lap time, and that has put him a very impressive P6 with the top 7 covered by just over 9/10.
I mean, hey, putting a lap time down is kind of what you need at this point. So, lap time is a lap time, in my opinion. You get a lap set, get a lap set, and you should just be happy where you qualify. And obviously, reverse grid, so it's a little bit of trickery at times. Obviously, Scott Borman in this case, if he finished 6th in the first race, he would start a little further back, around in like 12th.
Yep. And there's been a response from Ben Snell, 1:45.316, new fastest lap time, but Fantagiato has just gone quicker still by 6/100ths. Really getting into the dying moments of this qualifying session. Of course, the grid will be set for the sprint race via this 11-minute qualifying session, and then the results from the heat race or the sprint race will then be flipped upside down, turned on its head, and whoever finishes the sprint race as the winner will start from the back end of a 17-car grid. Ben Snell looking to improve. Oh, Dante Oliva trying to push like crazy. Just coming out of Oggio Secco possibly, and the back end catching the gravel on the left-hand side as the tail end went a little bit too wayward. He's now going through Casanova Savelli and then down into Arrabbiata 1 and then 2. See the depth of the descent from Casanova Savelli. Ben Snell has just got a slowdown penalty. Guillaume Dombret and Lee Harrison and Scott Evans. It seems like a lot of people are now deciding to stay in the pits. As again, Dante Oliva still pushing that envelope. Dante's not doing himself any favours here, Austin. All these mistakes could be the fact that he could have had quicker laps completed, but they would have been disallowed due to track limits being more than exceeded. I think probably literally just torn up and thrown away like a Hollywood script.
Honestly, yeah. I feel like his main goal right now is just hopefully set a fast lap time going in. But obviously, it's not going so well for him. I see he's going down pit road now with uphill. But he is really exceeding these track limits, trying to set a fast lap, but it is not working out so well.
But who it is working out for well at the moment is Eric Arias, the points leader. And he's put in a storming lap at 1:45.011. Pianizzola in the number 54 Audi. The sole Audi R8 on this grid. Coming down through, well, that's there's Eric Aria in the Porsche, the number 6. Through into Arrabbiata 1 and 2, using Tim Heinemann's from Sim to DTM livery. It looks like Tim Heinemann made the transition to race in the DTM a couple of years ago. And that was the livery that he used on his car in the DTM a couple of years back. Dante Oliva, yeah, slow down penalty, but it is the point that Eric Aria has put himself on the best foot forward as we are coming to the last 30 seconds of this qualifying session here at Mugello. That could open back in June of 1974, runs clockwise and has 15 turns, 6 to the left, 9 to the right, and the longest straight, which is the start-finish straight, measures about 0.7 of a mile. Eric Aria comes out of the final corner, dives into pit lane as we hit 11 minutes. That's it. The check-in will be out for the session. There we go. Qualifying completed for BISC Season 1 finale here at this fantastic track. So, is going to be, well, this is the results for qualifying, which effectively set the grid for race 1. Eric Aria taking pole position ahead of Ivan Vantagiato. Ben Snell rounding out the top 3. Guillaume Dombret, Aria's closest competitor, lines up 4th ahead of Scott Evans with Lee Harrison, Jordan Pianizzola, Scott Borman rounding out the top 4 rows. Dante Oliva and Matt Warner round out the top 10. Michael Angeli, Cristiano Kriza, Ben Mitchell, Anthony Edwards, Carl Newhill, Luke Broadbent, Matthew Brown round out the 17-strong grid. It is going to be a very interesting race over this first of 2 races in this event. So we have a sprint and we have a feature. And to be honest with you, all Aria's got to do is finish ahead of Guillaume Dombret, and he's basically done the job, as well as Ivan Vantagiato. So the top 3 in the championship standings are in the top 4 on this first race. And the sprint races always provide that little bit of drama, don't they?
Oh, for sure. I feel like more people like to get their wrecking done in the second race, but there is times where there are a couple incidents in the first race that just can't be prevented at all. It's the wrong place, wrong time. I'm honestly interested to see how this first race is gonna go with these guys. You know, either gonna keep it clean, gonna be aggressive. I don't know what their strategy is here, but I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know what Eric Aria's ploy was there with the BMW M2 safety car, but it is going to be a short run to the start-finish straight. Of course, it will be the customary 2x2 rolling start formation that we normally see GT3 circles, and with the lights being off on the M2 safety car, we are set and ready for our 10-minute race here at Mugello, and then it puts us on to the feature. Now it'll be down to Aria and Vantagiato to set the wheels in motion here at this famous Italian circuit located in Tuscany, just outside of Florence. The anticipation builds. This is where we see who might get the best run. It is all about that textbook start. So once BMW M2 safety car peels into pit lane, who will bolt first? They are going to make their way through Bucine, which is the final corner at this 5.2 kilometer circuit. Aria and Vantagiato on the front row. Snell and Dombret on row number 2. Pace car now peels into pit lane. We set and under starters orders for this 10-minute sprint race, which will decide the full reverse grid for the finale. As Aria has punched the pedal to the metal, the red lights are on. We're at full speed and we are underway here at Mugello. Now it's the run down to San Donato for the first time. And Snell trying to dive up the inside for P2. Ferrari through on the Lamborghini rather easily. Everyone taking it nice and neatly so far. But oh no, Ben Snell's around at Luco, going into Poggio Secco. The Castrol liveried Ferrari tumbles to the back end of the order. And Lee Harrison, briefly for the slightest amount of, well, the smallest amount of moments coming out of Poggio Secco, found himself in P2, but he's got Vantaggiato ahead of him. Ben Snell has been not only thrown to the back of the grid after that moment, but also copped a slowdown penalty as a direct correlation. Dante Oliva now up into P8. Meantime, Dombrett battling away with Harrison et al. And Harrison now drops down into 5th position, running on board with Scott Evans in the number 77 Ferrari 296 GT3. He's closing in on Lee Harrison, who's now in 4th position. But drama there, Austin, for Ben Snell. It would be quite interesting to see a different angle on what happened between him and Vantaggiato going into Luco coming out of turn 1.
Yeah, that was definitely very sketchy for sure. And honestly, if I were him, I would definitely be a little frustrated with myself going into that corner. I mean, obviously, not the fact that, you know, qualified decent, feeling strong, but the fact that, you know, it's lap 1 and I spin, now I'm decently far behind the field, not to do all this work to try to at least catch back up and get at least a solid finish in the race 1.
Matthew Brown had a bit of a drama going through Buccino. Did see some gravel being kicked up along with the dust in the background as Scott Borman gets through on Dante Oliva, Matt Warner and Cristiano Crisa. Oh, who's that? That's Lee Harrison off into the barriers. And there's more drama behind. Cole Newhill has gone around as well. Oh, dearie, dearie me. The hits, they keep on coming here at Mugello. Meanwhile, Eric Aria has got a lead of nearly 9/10 of a second over Ivan Vantaggiato. Neil Dombrett rounding out the top 3. Pianizzola, Evans, Borman, Oliva, Crisa, Warner and Angeli round out your top 10 at the moment, but disaster for a few other drivers. Lee Harrison tumbles to the bottom of the order, having tagged the wall coming out of turn 2 at Poggio Secco. Luke Broadbent has just got a slowdown penalty as we're nearly a third of the way through this race. Borman in the second of the second placed Lamborghini in the field. Cristiano Crisa is just ahead of Matt Warner in the 777 BMW. Dante Oliva trying to make some moves up the order in the meantime. Hopefully the 112 manages to get a closer grip on the likes of Scott Borman and the likes of Scott Evans. You can see the gravel that was kicked up by Matthew Brown coming out of Puccini as they go on to lap number 3. And Vantaggiato closing in that gap. He's just set the fastest lap of the race of 45.6 and Aria a 46.2. And Vantaggiato has got through for the race lead. And there's going to be further overtakes. Scott Evans and Jordan Pianizzola side by side into Luco. And on this particular occasion into Poggio Secco this time at turn 3. Oh, there's been drama. Enicari is off. Enicari is off. And look at the muck and the dust and the gravel that's been brought up onto the track. Guillaume Dombrett now leads. Vantaggiato in 2nd position. Aria in P3. And now you said about people wrecking. I think Aria's having to do a bit of damage limitation. He's definitely got damage on that Porsche, and he's going to have to bring that into pit lane, I'm afraid, because that's the left rear. The left rear has he got a puncture? I think he might have done.
Honestly, that's going to hurt for the championship points. That's going to give Guillaume Dombrett a huge chance to catch up in points out of this race 1. So this is definitely going to be interesting to see how this race plays out. It's the best race of the year, best race of the season. It's the season finale.
Yeah, everything goes out. It's like, you know, troubled bridge under troubled water, over troubled water. That's how this race has actually ended up being. as Scott Borman in the number 60 Lamborghini now finds himself in P3. Eric Aria all the way down in 13th position in the number 6 Porsche. You can see how slow he's going just to get the car into, he's trying to get into pit lane. Oh, he's had to sweep behind Luke Broadbent, so Eric Aria in pit lane. Disaster for the championship leader at the halfway point of this race. And Guillaume Dombret in the number 38 now leads by nearly a second and a half ahead of Ivan Vantaggiato in the Lamborghini. Scott Borman rounds out a Lamborghini 2-3 and is a further 3 seconds off second place. So Eric Aria is going to have to repair that damage, and he's already been in the pits for, not including transfer time, nearly 20 seconds. So this is really gonna, the thing is, there's a little bit of a strategy play that we can say here. Eric Aria will be on the front row of the grid if he finishes where he is now, or he's going to be on pole for the full reverse grid feature, and that is going to mean that Guillaume Dombret's going to have a huge mountain to climb, despite the fact right by Mount Fuji last time out on round 7. Pardon the pun, but Eric Aria, after 45 seconds, now exits pit lane. That's going to be a bitter pill for him to swallow going into the last race of the season here for season 1, Austin. It's not how you wanted to start your evening and find yourself punted and possibly in the wall on the early stages of the race, on the first half of it.
Oh, for sure. And the worst part now is if he gets in another incident, he's basically done for. He used his one and only fast repair that he gets in this race. And if he has one more incident, it could be the end of Eric Aria. And we could see a Dombre championship run.
Yeah, we could be, but as they say, Vantaggiato is also in the mix here as well. You cannot count out the driver in the number 89 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2, and he's getting quicker and quicker. 1 minute, he's just done a 44.9 on that previous lap. He's got the gap down to just over 1 second. This is where things are going to come to fruition. Some drivers, Cristiano Pisa, Vantaggiato's teammate, currently running in P7. He's up 5 spots already from 12th on the grid. Scott Borman, oh, I think that was possibly Matt Warner trying to go up the inside of Pisa, and there's Matt Warner. Well, you've got Ben Snell there, Ben Mitchell. Look at this, a 4-car train battling over 7th position. Ben Snell, who started in 3rd place, as Mitchell looks for the inside line. Snell to the outside of Warner at that point. Nearly got the job done, got the crisscross. They are fighting tooth and nail on this quartet, and no one's giving an inch, no one is taking a mile, as we are about to go onto what will be our white flag lappers. Mitchell up the inside of Kriese. Snell gets through but goes off. Now we are going to go on to pretty much our white flag lap here. 9 minutes on the timer. Luke Broadbent gets another slowdown penalty. Ben Snell ejected back down to the bottom of the order. Luke Broadbent has just got a black flag, so that is not going to help him. Ben Mitchell now gets a slowdown penalty. So the story is changing every single time you turn a page. But Dombret versus Vantaggiato, 2 closest protagonists to Eric Aria, who is going to finish in 17th. Ben Snell gets a black flag as well for his troubles. But this is going to be very, very close. We're getting towards the tail end of this sprint race, and Guillaume Dombret doing exactly what he needs to do. Stay at the front, but don't go off track like that. You don't want to dirty your tyres heading down the hill. And what's more, Ben Snell into pit lane in the Ferrari. We've hit 10 minutes on the timer. It's going to be very, very close, but Vantaggiato has got to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at Guillaume Dombret as they head into the final few corners here on this opening race of the evening.
It's going to be a great battle for the first position. It's all going to matter on...
Oh! He went for it. Vantagiato went for it through into Buccini, but they're going to come out of the final corner. And Guillaume Dombret is going to take the victory in the sprint race here at Mugello. Vantagiato takes P2. And what a run by Scott Borman. Started 8th and is going to finish P3. Well, sorry to cut across you there, Austin, but yeah, Vantagiato said he was going to have to throw everything at him, and he tried through at the final corner of all places and nearly got the job done.
Sadly, he was unsuccessful, but holy is Vantagiato fast here today. I'm just excited to see the battle between these two. I mean, Vantagiato, Dombret, and Eric Aria all really trying to get as many points as they can. Obviously, it's season finale, but obviously finishing in P16, Eric Aria, that's going to hurt him a lot in points, as he does not get any points top 10.
Yeah, we are still waiting for Lee Harrison and Eric Aria to cross the line, but Guillaume Dombret doing himself every single favour in the world, holding off the fast-charging Italian in the form of Ivan Vantagiato, winning by just under half a second after 6 laps. Scott Borman rounds out your top 3 as we see Eric Aria come out of the final corner at Buccini, and he will cross the line down in 16th. Bit of pill for the championship leader to swallow. Going to finish 15th based on Luke Broadbent and Ben Snell both having black flags towards the end of the race. But what can you say about that one? The sprint race has definitely provided us with a lot of dramas. And yeah, I mean, the biggest talking point is the results you see on your screen here. Guillaume Dombret leading and finishing after 6 laps as the race winner in the number 38 Porsche. Out of the number 89 Lamborghini of Ivan Vantagiato, Scott Borman makes it a Lamborghini 2-3 on Italian soil, ahead of Scott Evans. Dante Oliva for the Flanders Racing Team, the Belgian in the 112 Porsche, rounds out your top 5 ahead of Jordan Pianezzola, Ben Mitchell, Matt Warner, Michael Angeli, and Anthony Edwards, rounding out your top 10, all scoring valuable championship points. Carl Newhill, Cristiano Kriese et al. Unfortunately not making it to the end. But yeah, like you say, Eric Aria, no points scored in that race. He's got to put everything on the line. He's got to lead every single lap as we're in the 4-minute warm-up here at Mugello. And we saw that the drivers, you know, within the first couple of laps, I mean, it was a short 6-lap race. But more to the point here, Austin, was that I think in some respects, drivers now know where they can and where they can't push on this circuit. Hello.
Oh, yeah, and for sure. Obviously, I don't know if these guys are going to be more aggressive, especially the guys that are striving for a championship point. They might want to be a little bit more conservative, because obviously you saw Eric Aria. He's just one and only quick repair for the entire session. So he might want to play a little bit more conservative, but Guillaume Dombret and even Vantagiato all might try to play this just a tiny bit aggressive. Obviously, they're trying to battle here, but it's still not over for Guillaume Dombret at all.
No, exactly. That all of
they're
that had by a considerable margin, and more to the point, it will be the case that these drivers will have to be on their A game. And more to the point, I think if I remember correctly, the feature race has a pit stop involved as well.
Yeah, that is correct. Sometimes if you get your strategy wrong, it is 2-stop, but typically it is a 1-stop if you get your strategy perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So that is going to be all that it comes down to, is strategy on the pit stop. If you can engage that 3000 IQ strat that puts you at the right place at the right time. That's exactly what we're going to see here today. But yeah, I mean, the walls are pretty close, especially coming out of turn 3 at Poggio Secco. We saw Lee Harrison in the barriers. I think that's probably where Eric Arry was off as well. So it's, you know, the drivers have a limited amount of time to get themselves ready for each race. And, you know, that time constraint can also be quite overbearing as well.
It's really all about strategy. Obviously, Eric Aria, he probably is going to have a good strategy lined up here in the second race. But the big thing he's got to worry about now is losing to Dombre in the points standings. So obviously, he's got to work his way from obviously the front. Now, obviously, the reverse grid. But he has to deal with the other strategies being different. Obviously, what that's looking like is I would honestly go with the simple one-stopper, go halfway. Obviously, they have different strategies, and they like to extend their stops longer. That way they have somewhat decent fresher tires than someone else does. And that can give them the help that they need. Obviously, in this case, Eric Aria could go for that, extending the first run as long as possible. But we'll have to see how his strategy plays out.
Yes, indeed. So the 4-minute warm-up session in between has been provided. So, well, Eric Aria is not going to start on the front row. He's going to start P3, which is going to help him no end. So your grid is going to be Luke Broadbent and Ben Snell on the front row of the grid. Porsche versus Ferrari. It's Porsche versus Ferrari on row 2. Eric Aria versus Lee Harrison. Then it's Porsche versus Lamborghini. Matthew Brown and Cristiano Kriza on row 3. Row 4, it's McLaren versus Ford. Carl Newhill versus Anthony Edwards, with Michael Angeli and Matt Warner in the Ferrari and the BMW, rounding out your top 10. Completing the grid will be the McLaren of Ben Mitchell, the Audi of Jordan Pianizola, Dante Oliva in the Porsche, Scott Evans in the 77 Ferrari, Scott Borman in the 60 Lamborghini, Ivan Vantagiato in the 89 Lamborghini, and the man that could steal the title from Eric Aria, Guillaume Dombret in the number 38 Porsche. They round out your grid. Again, the M2 BMW safety car will lead the field through towards Mugello very, very shortly. And then it is down to our 2 on the front row. Isaac's Finest versus Maranello's prime picking of GT3 machinery, replacement of the 488 GT3 that was the precursor to what we have now, the V6 twin turbo Ferrari 296. So this feature race will be over a duration of 25 minutes here at Mugello. It's been a titanic battle at the sharp end of the field, and it's gotten closer still after that dynamic and sometimes, for some people, disastrous sprint race that we had just a few moments ago. But this is now crunch time. It's the final race of BISC GT3 Championship, season number 1. The finale under starters' orders here at the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello in the Tuscany region of Italy. This 15-turn clockwise circuit will decide our season 1 champion as Broadbent starts to push the pedal down early. He gets the jump over Ben Snell as we get up to full racing speed. Red lights are on. And the final race of the season is underway. Snell underneath Broadbent's rear diffuser, dives to the inside, looks for the race lead as they go through into San Donato for the first time. Eric Aria trying to get ahead of Luke Harrison, tries to go towards the outside, he gets through, and there's a spinner. Oh, that is, oh dear, that is Matthew Brown in the 22 Porsche. Looks like the right rear has picked up damage the way that the car spun into the barriers. There's been more gravel kicked up coming out of Poggio Secco, and that's Matt Warner. Matt Warner in the 777 Beamer. He's got off as well through Materazzi and Borgo San Lorenzo. as the field will head down the hill into Casanova Cervelli for the first time. But Ben Snell has got a 1.3 second lead over Eric Aria. And Anthony Edwards in the 88 Mustang is in the pits. So Aria currently P2, Vantagiato P9, Dom Brett P12. And Borman trying to get through on the number 89 Lamborghini in front of him. Dom Brett has got through on Scott Evans for P11. Now is up 6 places. Broadbent has got a slowdown penalty, but oh heavens to Betsy, massive dramas for the likes of Matt Warner and also Matthew Brown. They are both still circulating, but Guillaume Dombret has got to make up a little bit of a disadvantage that he's got over under Scott Borman, and the gap is about 0.8 of a second. Ben Snell leads us over the line for the opening lap, 1.8 seconds ahead of Eric Aria. Cristiano Pisa now up into P3. Ben Mitchell has sprung all the way up from 11th to P4 in the running order in that McLaren, and Dante Oliva up to P5 from 13th on the grid. Michael Angeli started 9th, now runs 6th. Gordon Pianizola in the Sol Audi R8 up 5 spots, and Ivan Vantagiato up 8 positions, now runs P8 as someone kicks up the dust. They come out of Poggio Secco now into Materazzi, and that was a look by Pianizola up the inside of Michael Angeli. And here goes Ben Mitchell. He's looking for the move on Cristiano Griesa down the hill into Casanova Cervelli, and he hasn't quite done it yet, but he's there or thereabouts. Angeli and Pianizola getting very, very close indeed. The Audi in the slipstream of the Ferrari as they go up the hill. And again, Pianizola looking left, looking right. Dom Brett on the flashers. He's up the inside of Carl Newhill, nearly steamrolls into the back of Scott Borman, but hits on the anchors. And Dante Oliva now battling away with Ben Mitchell. Eric Aria must be laughing all the way to the bank at the moment, and that's what he's going to be doing at this way. It's currently P2, 1.8 seconds ahead of behind Ben Snell. And looks like Anthony Edwards has called, well, he's been in the pits for 2.5 minutes, not including transfer time.
Oh no!
Because, oh no, Michael Angeli is off the circuit.
Oh my!
And that is a very, very destroyed rear end on that 296 Ferrari. Oh, that was coming out of the final corner of Puccini. Good thing he's only got a small run down to pit road.
Let me tell you, that was a hard hit. I'm really glad that he's able to keep going. That looked like that hurt him. I'm surprised. He's strong. That's the benefits. He is a strong man, and he just took it to pit lane. Took it like a man. That was hard.
He didn't go. He didn't go to pit lane. He didn't go. He's carried on.
Oh wow!
He missed the pit lane entry. He missed the pit lane entry coming out of Puccini. In the meantime, Guillaume Dombret now up into P8, and Vantagiato now up into P6, and is only 3/10 behind Ben Mitchell in the McLaren in 5th position. So the twists and turns in the tail here at Mugello for this final race. I think probably, I'd say by my approximate calculations, if Alia stays where he is, and Dombret and Vantagiato don't get too close to him, then, oh no, Ben Mitchell's around, and Dombret straight into the side of him! I cannot believe it! Guillaume Dombret just took a big lick on the front end of that Porsche, and Ben Mitchell has just been given the meatball flag. Oh, talk about heart in the mouth stuff here, Austin. I cannot believe this. This is how a season finale, you want it to go down to the wire, but Dombret had front end damage. The bumper was actually basically off the car, the cooling system exposed. But at the moment, well, Eric Aria now has decided, after 5.5 minutes, I'm going to put in a fastest lap. He's just put in a 45.7. Ben Snell a 45.9. 2/10 quicker was the number 6 Porsche. And Vantagiato trying to close in on Dante Oliva. in the Oliva in the 112 Porsche. Ben Mitchell finally gets down pit lane, and Michael Angeli has been in pit road for over 90 seconds. Looks like Anthony Edwards in the number 88 Soul Ford Mustang. Ben Snell has just got a slow down penalty. Oh dear. That's going to close that gap a little bit to Eric Aria. Guillaume Dombret now currently in 8th position, and he's being chased down by Matt Warner. Dombret looking up the inside of Scott Borman. This is going to be through Arrabbiata 1 and 2. Up the hill they go again. And into Scapri and Pelagio before heading into Correntaio. And here is the battle for P3. Vantaggiato around the outside. Don't tell me you've made that move stick around the outside of Dante Oliver. And that is Vantaggiato up into P3 from 16th on the grid. Oh my goodness, we have got a real battle on our hands here. Incredible stuff. But the thing is, Vantaggiato over the next 18 minutes has to get down a 6.8 second gap as Eric Aria sets another new fastest lap of the race. It's game on here for the championship, and the way things stand, I think Aria will take it, but only by a handful of points.
Yeah, obviously there's 1,300 Australian dollars in cash and prizes, and obviously Eric Aria just is trying to, if I was him, just defend my position. I have the place locked. Obviously I just gotta concentrate, not make a mistake, which in this case he's doing quite well. Obviously 1.4 back from the leader. Obviously position automatically is just locking him in that first place spot, and he will win the championship if he stays in second. But Dombre is trying to make as much time up as possible. He is the man to watch.
I don't think he's the only man to watch as well. Vantaggiato is now up into P3. So when you think about it, that Dombre and Vantaggiato are the two closest protagonists to Eric Aria. Dombret being held up by Scott Borman, who is allowed to defend his spot as they go down the hill again through Casanova Savelli. They're going to head into Arrabbiata 1 very shortly. Dombret's got the inside line, Borman to the outside. Borman is still going to keep it there. That's great work there by the number 60 Lamborghini, but he has to relinquish that 7th spot to Guillaume Dombret for the meantime. And they've got Matt Warner and Scott Evans right on their case, as we're not even 10 minutes in to this 25-minute feature, the final feature of the season that will decide the championship here in Season 1 for BISC GT3 action. Ben Snell with another new fastest lap of the race of 1 minute 45.4, really unlocking the pace on that 296 Ferrari. Matt Warner trying to go toe-to-toe, wheel-to-wheel round the outside. It's Andonato on Scott Borman, and he's going to have the inside line for Luco here at turn 2. Borman loses another spot. He's starting to struggle with that number 60 Lamborghini. And, well, Michael Angeli has returned after nearly 3 minutes in the pits. Ben Snell absolutely pushing the 296 GT3 Ferrari in that wonderful old Japanese retro play on the Castrol livery on that Ferrari. To using the Castrol livery both not just in the Japanese GT Championship, but also for a number of years as in the World Rally Championship, where Castrol was their title sponsor. But Eric Aria looking closer and closer as the corners go by. Past the 10-minute mark, so Ben Snell leads by 1.4 seconds ahead of Eric Aria. Ivan Vantaggiato rounds out your top 3, having started 16th on the grid, now up to 3rd. Dante Oliva, the Belgian, in the 112, ahead of Australia's Jordan Pianizola in the Soul. Number 54, Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo 2. As we cross the line again, we start lap number 7 out of this race, and the battles are thick and fast. Oliva leading a trio of cars, Pianezzola and Cristiano Kriza in the number 41 car, not too far behind. Guillaume Dombret now puts in the fastest lap of the race. Porsche doing Porsche things there, Austin. He's just put in a 1:45.3, but at the moment, Guillaume Dombret, I think, might be fighting a losing battle here because he needs to make up some ground at this moment in time.
Definitely. And obviously, some of the pit stops should be coming up shortly as we are almost at the halfway point. Obviously, most people's strategy is to pit at the halfway mark. But as I mentioned earlier, most of these guys are going to extend the first run as long as possible, have fresher tires in the last 10 or so minutes, and just obviously go from there.
Yep. Another slowdown penalty being issued by the server. Luke Broadbent receiving that one, I'm afraid, in the number 70 Porsche, all the way down in 14th position. As we run aboard with Cristiano Kriza in the number 41. Raging Bull, the pride of Sant'Agata Bolognese, Lamborghini Huracan, closing to the pair of Oliver and Pianezzola. Porsche versus Audi. Lovely to see this on board with the Lamborghini Huracan GT3. Now we go on the front splitter cam. A real, like, millimeters off the ground perspective coming out of Buccini. The final left-hander out of 6 left-handers. Matt Warner has gone into the pits, but look, Guillaume Dombret closing in on Cristiano Kriza. Over the crest they go, in towards the dip, towards San Donato. What's Dombret going to do? Not close enough to facilitate an overtake as we are past the halfway point in this race. But now it is down to this man in 7th position and also the man in 3rd. Dombret and Vantaggiato have got to now start putting everything into it. Not just give it 10 tenths, give it 11 tenths and flirt with a limit of adhesion as they go through Belgio Secco. Now it's the run down the hill into, but it's going to be now the run down the hill through Casanova Savelli and into Arrabbiata 1 and 2. Dombret is closing quickly. Going to be up the hill through into Arrabbiata 2, or they head into Scaparia and Pelagio very shortly. And Kriza still able to park that Lamborghini on the racing line. The short run up to the right-hand hairpin that has some camber to the right-hand side at Correntaio before Biondetti 1 and 2, and in the final turn on this circuit. In the meantime, Vantaggiato, new fastest lap of the race of 45.258. Eric Aria now has that gap between himself and Ben Snell to just over a second. And well, Snell's got into the pits. Snell is in pit lane for some reason for his mandatory stop. Now is Dombret going to do it? No. Yes, he is. Dombret goes into pit lane. Now we're going to see whether the undercut strategies might work. Borman in the pit lane. Kriza in the, well, yeah, Snell, Dombret, Borman, they're all in pit lane. Newhill in pit lane. The first run of pit stops are going to happen. So Eric Aria has to now be on full push for a good in lap.
Yeah, and the best thing about him is he likes to get out to a good lead where he knows when he comes out of pit lane, he still has the lead. But I don't think this gap is going to hold on for much longer. So pretty soon he's just going to have to make his pit stop and accept that he's not going to be in the lead unless he does gas and go.
Yeah, Matthew Brown has just picked up a black flag, so that's going to be a drive-through penalty. But Eric Aria leading the way. Ivan Vantaggiato and Dante Oliver yet to pit. Neither has Pianezzola. Neither has Kriza, neither has Evans. Kriza now, well, showing in the pits, has now gone out of the pits. Well, probably a slight glitch on the timing there. But here is the battle between Scott Borman and Lee Harrison. Line astern of the pair. Guillaume Dombret now 9th behind Matt Warner in the 777 BMW as the ongoing Audi versus Porsche battle Cristiano Kriese is closing on in, and there is Scott Evans in the background in the Rosso Corsa red Ferrari. Eric Aria now pulls into pit lane on the beginning of what will be lap number 10. Vantaggiato in the pits. Oliver Pianizzola's going to do him in the pit lane. Oh, that was brave from the Audi. Oh, Jordan Pianizzola mugs Dante Oliver going into pit lane. Got Evans in the pits now, and everyone will have taken a mandatory stop at this point. So, Eric Aria, 10.2 seconds. And where is that going to put him in correlation to Ben Snell? Snell's gone through. Shot past him. So, as soon as he exits that pit lane and doesn't cross the white line, Oliver back in. Oliver, oh, that was brilliant. Pianizzola mugged Oliver going into the pit lane. And Oliver was 3/100ths quicker, well, was 0.3 of a second quicker than Pianizzola fueling the car in the pit lane. So now it's a full-out sprint. 8 minutes to go, and the gap between Ben Snell and Eric Aria is at 3.2 seconds. Eric Aria at the moment is champion-elect with the way things are standing. Stays in P2, kept his nose clean, but had a disaster in the sprint race earlier on. He is champion-elect. He's got to keep his position, as you rightly said, Austin. He's got to keep it on the black stuff, not make any moments for himself, because he does not want Vantaggiato and Dombret as to close on in. Vantaggiato now P5, closing in on the likes of Pianizzola and Oliva. So there is going to be a massive battle from third down to seventh, because Guillaume Dombret is at the end of that train, that quintet, with Matt Warner in the 777 rounding out the top 6.
Obviously, Eric Aria had a little bit of a longer pit stop. Not 100% sure if he took tires, but I have a feeling he did, just because it was one of those longer pit stops. Now he's just in control, has to mind his own business, not worry about anybody else. Obviously, cruises around, got it in the bag.
Yeah, he doesn't need to push the envelope in this car, just needs to bring it home. And with a 9.7 second advantage over Dante Oliva, you won't have to worry much, because Oliva, Pianizzola, Vantaggiato and Warner will start battling very shortly. The gap between Pianizzola to Dombret is about 2 seconds. So, and those gaps will be closing over time. So Dante Oliva is going to have to fight tooth and nail for the final podium place of the season. Now you see the squabble really starting to intensify. Vantaggiato ahead of Warner in P6, Dombret in P7. There is Pianizzola just there up ahead of Vantaggiato. So this is going to be very, very crucial how this battle plays out, because it could decide who ends up where. Now don't forget that Dombret was ahead of Vantaggiato in the previous race, whereas this time it's the boot on the other foot, so to speak, that Vantaggiato finished second behind Dombret. Cristiano Kriese having a little bit of an internet ping. It's currently P8 at the moment, was riding aboard with Vantaggiato on the front splitter cam. So Snell and Aria pretty much matching each other for lap times. So we will have 3 laps to go. We're currently on lap number 12 out of what will be a possible 14 laps in this feature. Vantaggiato, you've got to try and do something in the next 3 laps. About 15, 16 kilometres worth of racing left here at Mugello to decide our BISC GT3 Championship Season 1 champion. And Aria just on cruise control. It's like a Sunday afternoon drive in the countryside for the number 6 Porsche. But Vantaggiato again looking very racy, needed to possibly be a little bit more aggressive on his driving style, but not to the point where he takes himself out of the equation. Closing in through Arrabbiata 1 and then 2. Luke Broadbent, I think, has just picked up his third slow down penalty of the race so far. As Vantaggiato again looking rather racy behind that Audi of Pianezzola. But Pianezzola did not need to make that maneuver there. Now down into Commentators they go. Still doesn't have an answer. Seems like the drivers. This is a very fast-packed and frantic race meeting to decide our Season 1 GT3 champion. Looks like it's going to go to a very, very well-deserving winner. So 2 laps remaining. Ben Snell now on to lap number 13. And look at this freight train. 5 cars in it. Oliva, Pianezzola, Vantaggiato, Warner and Dombre bringing up the rear of the quintet. Pianezzola on the flashes to Oliva, saying you better watch yourself. But at this moment, Oliva has the right of way, can park the car wherever he wants to on that racing line. Vantaggiato, you can see the driving style getting a little bit more, showing signs of a little bit of frustration from the Italian. Closing in on the Australian in front of Pianezzola. Kind of reminds me of the livery that was used by one of the drivers in the movie adaptation of Jan Mardenborough's life in GT Academy. Seen that film. It's not a bad one in terms of creative licensing, let's say. But Pianezzola is on the flashes again, way too far back from Oliva to worry about Oliva giving way. Well, Oliva won't give way. He'll want to finish the season on the podium. Meantime, our 2 leaders are only 3 seconds apart. This 5-car battle for the final step on the rostrum here, Austin. Any one of these 5 drivers could pick up that P3.
Oh yeah, for sure. Honestly, with that battle that they got going on back there, if any sort of contact could be made, it could honestly cause a spin out, which we've seen with Eric Aria in that first race. Not entirely sure if it was contact from another driver or if it was just, hey, I kind of missed my braking point, made the mistake, I own up to that mistake. But obviously contact is going to be a big part, especially with how they're racing. Obviously 4 to 8 tenths all away from each other. But that's a good battle that we definitely want to keep an eye on in the waning moments of final race in the BISC.
Oh dear, Vantaggiato, sorry to cut across you there, Austin. Vantaggiato has just picked up a black flag. Cristiano Kriese. Oh, there are black flags coming in thick and fast through the server. Cristiano Kriese just served a drive-through penalty. Warner's going to have to serve one. Vantaggiato's going to have to serve one. And this is putting Guillaume Dombret effectively into vice championship status at this point. We are 30 seconds away from the conclusion of this race. So we are on the final lap of this BISC championship, the GT3s for season 1. Warner and Vantaggiato, they will probably be demoted down the order because they won't be able to make it in time for a drive-through penalty. So, timer hit 0. There's Ben Snell. There's the man in the background, the one that we've been keeping our eyes on all evening long. Eric Aria is in that possibility of taking the championship. And more to the point, Ben Snell picks up the final race win of the season. But it looks like that Eric Aria will become your BISC GT3 Season 1 champion by picking up second in the feature. Dante Oliver will round out the podium. Vantaggiato serves his drive-through penalty and is going to tumble down the order. Matt Warner will finish 4th on the road, but Guillaume Dombret will finish P4 as a result of Matt Warner's possible. Now, are we going to? No. Now, I am awaiting possible confirmation as to. And there we see the donuts. Ben Snell picking up the race win. Quite dramas for him, along with Enquiries in the first race of the evening. Smoke billowing from the rear tyres of Ben Snell's Ferrari in the number 36. Led from lights out to checkered flag. And Enquiries picking up P2 in the series. Picking up P2 in this race. But I think he's done enough to secure that championship title. Well, what could you say about that one, Austin? Aria did not put a foot wrong. Neither did that man there, Ben Snell, who's going to try and do a little bit of a burnout as well, just for good measure before he leaves the server. But Ben Snell wins the final feature race of the season ahead of Eric Aria, who we think has won season 1 as the champion in P2. Dante Oliver taking P3, Guillaume Dombre, Lee Harrison rounding out your top 5 ahead of Scott Borman, Jordan Pianizola, Scott Evans, Carl Newhill, Cristiano Kriza, Matt Warner rounding out the top 11. Warner having been penalised, finished 4th, ended up 11th. Luke Broadbent and Ivan Vantagiato ran out your top 13. And Ben Mitchell, Michael Angeli, Matthew Brown, who retired on lap 9. Anthony Edwards on the open lap of this race. Oh, and as I say that, let's take a deep breath, shall we, for a moment, Austin? What can you say about that race? A well-deserving champion in the form of Enquiries and Ben Snell, well, fittingly taking the final win of the season.
Honestly, yeah, it was spectacular. Honestly, expected a little bit more to happen in race 2 between Ombre and Aria, but obviously the gap, 12 seconds, probably not how they wanted it. But hey, great race all around, and a champion got what a champion always dreamed of. That's the cash prize.
Exactly. 1,300 US dollars, sorry, Australian dollars, but we have got our first interviewee of the meeting, our final round. Let's bring the man in himself. Let's bring in Ben Snell. Well, Ben, what a way to round off the season. Picking up the win in the number 36. Have to say, I love the Castrol livery on that Ferrari, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah, what a way to wrap it all up, especially after the shabozzle that was the first race. I'm definitely glad it was a reverse grid, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. I think we all wanted it to come to a season finale like this, and you have to say that despite the dramas that he suffered in race 1, Eric Aria, I think, has done enough to secure.
I'm still. Little breather.
Where we had Sebring, Road America, and Daytona, then Mount Panorama, of course. Who doesn't love a GT3 race around the mountain? And then we had Fuji, but Mugello was definitely a good place to end the season.
Oh, definitely. It's a super technical track. You look at it, it's kind of like Queensland Raceway here in Australia. You look at it from above and you go, oh, it's just a couple of hairpins and a couple of chicanes. But the elevation and just the way the track flows, it's such a unique place. And I really was struggling in practice, and it pretty much wasn't until quali that I actually went, oh, that's how you do it. And it started to really click, and I found that flow. And once I found the flow, it's an absolutely amazing track to drive around.
Of course, the thing is, I think a lot of people will now be wondering what on earth is happening next for BISC, because when you think about it, a great way to start everything off. I'm sure that people will be chomping at the bit saying, "When's season 2 coming? When's season 2 coming?"
Oh, definitely. There's already a lot of talk about what Benji's going to do, and of course, this is Benji's first iRacing foray in terms of running a series. But he does do a lot of stuff here locally in South Australia, and if that is anything to go by, Benji's just going to keep stepping it up and up, and it's just going to become bigger and better every season.
Awesome. Well, Ben, congratulations on the W here at Mugello in the feature, and nice way to cap off season 1, eh?
Yeah, fantastic. I'm super pleased. Thank you guys for broadcasting the season. It's been great to go back and have a watch. Most of the time, I'm not going back and having a watch because I know it wasn't ending very well. But these last couple of weeks have been good to go back and have a watch. And yeah, and of course, big shout out to Benji and the crew for putting this on. It's been absolutely fantastic fun.
Fantastic, Ben. Thanks so much for your time, buddy. And we'll let you get off and get some hydration. But before we do, anyone else you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Probably wise to give a big shout out to my fiance Chloe for allowing me to spend my Monday nights away in my little goblin cave. So yeah, big shout out to the missus.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ben. Take care and all the very best.
Cheers, guys.
A big thanks there to Ben, our final race winner of season 1 of this. I think from our perspective here, not just from my side, but also from Ewan O'Leary and obviously for yourself, Austin, it's been a great championship to follow. What a way to cap it off. 2 exciting races, had more than their fair share of drama here at Mugello.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, ever since I joined the booth at Road America Week, I knew this was going to be some of the best GT3 racing I will ever see on the sim. It's been a pleasure to be here, and maybe you guys will see me again. I'm just excited that the season has gone really well. I'm congratulating championship winner for the BISC GT3.
Well, that wraps up our coverage here at the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello for the BISC Season 1 GT3 Championship finale. You've joined over the course of the season. Myself, Alex Goldschmidt, standing in for Ewan O'Leary, who's done a fantastic job as always. Big thank you to Austin Scheff. This has been a JP Broadcasting Network production. And as always, race hard, race fair, and if in doubt, well, you better go flat out. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.
Jungle.